Hey everybody, what's up? This is Jack with SpyPie Gaming. Today's video is going to be the 6th installment in our ESO for Beginners series we're calling Git Good. We've put it all in a playlist. You can check it out on the channel, and I'll link up the playlist in the top corner in case you're interested. So today's video is going to be damage dealing for beginners. Had a little bit of a brain fart there. It's alright though. So up to this point, we've covered races, classes, things like that, and we have, as far as group content goes and the different roles that you can be, or the different roles that you can fill in group content, we have done tanking. There is a video on that if you're interested in that. If you just happen to be seeing this video first, I'll make sure to link it up so you can find it. Then we have also covered healing for beginners. I'll make sure to link that video up too. The last one is damage dealing for beginners. So if anybody, just in case you don't know, I'll go ahead and pull up the interface here. So this is the group and activity finder. If I'm saying something you already know, that just keep in mind this is for beginners, and honestly anybody who wants a refresher or feels like maybe getting back to the basics might help. So when I say role, obviously this is, it's a heading role right here. You have tanks, healers, and damage. Now in the game itself, damage dealers are often referred to, or almost nearly always referred to, as DPS, which actually stands for damage per second. And it's, once you get to the point, we're not going to cover what I'm about to say in this video, but once you get to the point where you believe you have a good build worked out and you're just trying to optimize it, DPS stands for damage per second, and it is actually it'd be the readout that you get. It's how much damage output you personally are doing. And there are ways to measure that. There are add-ons and stuff like that. But for the purposes of this video, I have all of those things disabled that I might normally use in gameplay. So when you're a damage dealer, the description and the tooltip here, you focus on dealing damage against enemies that pose a threat. Roles are used to create balanced groups for certain activities. Okay, so the activities are going to be your dungeon finder and your battlegrounds. Healers heal and protect allies, keeping them alive throughout the battle. Tanks absorb damage from enemies and prevents allies from being attacked. Now these two, like I said, are the ones that we've covered so far. Damage is going to be the one that we are talking about today. So I'm going to just go ahead and jump right into it. This is a tricky one to explain correctly, because there is such a misconception around the actual job of a DPS. Okay, the actual job of a damage dealer. The reasoning, or let me back up. The consensus in a big way when it comes to DPS, the attitude towards it is that your sole job is to glass cannon. And what that means is you build strictly to kill things, and there is sorry, excuse me, let me take a drink here. There is a mentality that has evolved. It's mainly, I'll say, in intermediate tier players, you see it the most. Once you get to top end, it's much more organized and coordinated and things like that. And I'm sure there are, you know, predispositions as to what a damage dealer should be doing. But I'm here to tell you, if someone asks you what's your DPS, they don't fucking understand what it is that you should be doing, and they likely don't understand what it is they should be doing. And I say that from a standpoint of this. Combat in the game, or content rather in the game, is not strictly burn it down, get through the content. That's not how ESO works. It may be how some games work. It's not how this game works. Now, I am aware we have been covering the patch notes for the upcoming update. If you're interested, you can take a look at that. But so I say that to say this. I am aware that some of what I'm about to say may seem like it's potentially changing. Just as a spoiler or a heads up, I guess, is more appropriate. So we're going to run through the primary and secondary role of a damage dealer, or a DPS. You're going to see DPS, so you're going to hear me say DPS from here on out in this video. But anyway, alright, so if we go back to the group finder, the primary role of a DPS is focuses on dealing damage against enemies that pose a threat. Okay, alright, yes, that is true. Your primary focus is to put out the most damage. You, in a dungeon group, that will be 2 DPS, 1 tank, and 1 healer. The 2 DPS in the group should be a vast majority of the damage. Healers are not built to put out a lot of damage. Tanks are not built to put out a lot of damage. Are there more complicated builds out there that are kind of hybridized for healers and tanks to add to the DPS output? Yes. That is a particular playstyle, and it's a particular level of skill that not everyone has or enjoys. Once upon a time, I mentioned in the tank video, once upon a time I had a hybrid tank who could contribute damage to the group and also maintain my job as tank. I did not enjoy that playstyle, so I moved on from it. But from someone's perspective who is first getting into the game, your primary role is to deal damage against enemies that pose a threat. Now, if you've played any games ever, you understand this concept. The secondary role, and this is true, what I'm about to say is true of every group member. Okay, so both DPS, the healer, the tank. If you're in a trial group, which is 12 people, it is true of all 12 people in the group. Your secondary role is to do the fucking mechanics. And I said that the way I said it because there's a little bit of toxic, mindset around DPS. DPS and tank catch it. Probably, from what I've seen, I'm going to say DPS and tanks catch it more than anyone else. Because if the tank dies, the group usually dies not too far behind. And if the DPS keep getting killed, the group members that are not getting killed, which are generally the tank and the healer, get real irritated. And that's, from what I've seen, that comes from the mindset around what DPS should be doing. I'm here to tell you that your primary role, but not your only job, okay? Your primary job, but not your only job, is to deal damage. Your other job is to do the mechanics, to do the content, play the game, right? There are dungeons in this game that are, if you do not fulfill what needs to be done in order to combat the mechanics that are built into the content, you're gonna die, no matter how much damage you're putting out. So if somebody's like, oh, you can't be in my group unless you have such and such amount of DPS, I'm gonna hide this chat box real quick. They're wrong for saying that. Now, damage is often referred to as king in this game. And in top-end competitive play, where everyone knows the content, they run it over and over and over again, trying to get better at it. Okay, maybe damage is king in that particular specific scenario. Okay, but as far as playing the game and enjoying the game, damage is not king. Damage is a convenience. Okay. If you build a character that is capable of putting out 20,000 DPS or 25,000 or whatever, that's good enough, and you can do any content in the game. As long as you understand the mechanics, you can do any content in the game. Is it going to take longer? Yeah, it is. That's why damage is a convenience. The convenience is that you don't get stuck playing the content for a long period of time. Okay? So I'm going to go over real quickly. There is a build video on the character that I'm on if you're interested in it. I'm going to go through a little bit of it. This is my Magicka Templar, who is a DPS for in-game content, group content. This character of mine is DPS role. I also have a tank. I am working out a healer, but this particular one is DPS. So I do go over all of this in the build video, but I'm going to go over it for kind of a simplistic and really just real overview of how you should think about, because you have abilities and passives, and you have gear and stuff like that. So in the beginning, don't worry about numbers. Just don't worry about numbers. When you first start, you're going to have 1 bar. When you hit level 15, you're going to go, whoop, now I got 2 bars. Awesome. Okay. Now, things don't have to be overcomplicated. They don't. Things don't have to be really anything anybody says. This is a game, play how you want. That is their slogan, and so far it stands true. Play how you want. Now, if you want to be efficient, then you may have to modify a little bit, figure out what you need to modify to be compatible with how you want to play. Okay? You may not be comfortable playing this build. You may not be comfortable playing the build you currently have. You may not know what you're comfortable playing. Play around with it a little bit. Experiment. Find out what suits you. That being said, skill rotations or ability rotations, which is going through all of your abilities on both bars, you want to set that up, in my opinion, as simplistic as possible, as static as possible, right? I have a hybrid sort, which also there is also a build for that on the video. There's a build for Spies Warden on the channel, and there's even a build video for Spies Healer on the channel. The abilities that are on the bar, on both bars, for every one of those builds are put there very specifically for a reason. Now, Spy and myself have kind of moved into intermediate to advanced, content, gameplay, stuff like that. So just the other day, we ran March of Sacrifices on Vet, trying to get the no death run, and you're not just going to fall into that. But if you work at it, you're going to get there. And it does not matter how much fucking DPS you have. And I'm just going to keep saying it that way. I don't care, and I don't care who it pisses off. There are some toxic people out there that will tell you you're garbage for, you know, whatever reason. Maybe it's just because they don't know what they're doing and they think if you did more damage, it would save them from dying. I don't know what it is, but the way that I look at it is this. When I say simplistic rotation, okay, and I'm going to demonstrate here in just a minute, but when I say simplistic rotation, I have all of my area of effect, damage over time things of 1 bar, okay? Meteor, Blazing Spear, Ritual of Retribution, Unstable Wall of Storms. That's all on my back bar. And then once I've laid all that down, I go back to my front bar, and I have Purifying Light, and sometimes I swap out for Solar Barrage. Just depends on what exactly it is that I'm doing. Solar Barrage may become null and void for me here soon because Empower is possibly changing, but that literally is for a different video. But anyhow, I have Purifying Light, I have Barbed Trap, and then I have 2 interchangeable abilities. Okay, I have my Spammable, which is an ability that you will repeatedly cast, possibly back to back, more often than not. And then I also have Radiant Glory, which is my Execute. And the reason that it is an Execute is if you look in the tooltip, it says deals up to 480% more damage to enemies below 50% health. Okay, so I'll be using this until I get to roughly 25% as the execute range, because at that point you're really starting to ramp up the deals up to 480% more damage to enemies below 50% health, right? 25% is half of 50%, so we're probably looking at 240% more damage. That's a pretty good damage jump, so I dropped this ability and I swapped to that ability, and that is as static as this rotation can get. Okay, it is. I literally just I'll go through the back bar, I go through the front bar, I go through the back bar, I go through the front bar, and as I'm doing that, things melt. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna back up just a little bit and switch bars. Okay. Now, one basic principle that is a good thing to go ahead and get used to early on, that way you can be practicing it, because it does take practice to get good at it, is light attack weaving. Okay. You'll hear that's what you're going to hear it referred to as light attack weaving. And you can also weave heavy attacks, which is, you charge your weapon, you just hold it down. That is something that may become more prevalent here soon, but the light attack weaving is not going to go away. So what that looks like is light attack ability, right? And it's like a heartbeat. That's how you can think about it. Bump, bump, right? So going through a full rotation on the back bar, just on the back bar, because that is a lot easier to see than this, because of animation canceling that can happen, which is, you'll see what I'm talking about here shortly. You'll likely not see very much of me swinging my melee weapons, even though I am. Your abilities and your light attacks are on 2 different cooldowns. You have that is on a 1-second cooldown. This is on a 1-second cooldown, and it's for all of your abilities. The cooldown is how often you can cast it. Okay, so we'll run through real quick on the back bar. Light attack wall, light attack ritual, light attack spear. Okay. Now, I'm not going to stay in combat. I'm not going to stay on just the back bar. So what it's actually going to look like is this, okay? And I keep the rune down, but light attack wall, light attack ritual, light attack spear, bar swap, light attack jabs, light attack trap, light attack jabs, light attack jabs. See, and it's canceling the light attack because that's what the light attack looks like, okay? That's how quick you can go in between light attacking and your ability. Now, it takes practice to get... I'll go ahead and say this. I am for sure not the best light attack weaver. I do actively do it all the time. It does not mean that I am perfectly weaving. It is something you will have to practice, and you will practice on something such as a target dummy. Okay, now I have a target Ogrim, so we're going to go through what a rotation looks like when you're in an encounter with an enemy. Now, obviously, this one is not going to fight back, but it's going to look a lot like this, okay? Light attack wall, light attack ritual, light attack spear, bar swap, light attack jabs, light attack that, purifying light, light attack. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Alright, now after I've gone through 3 jabs, then I bar swap again. And it's just, you just keep rolling through them. Okay? It's not, it looks like more is going on than what's actually going on, but once you get used to doing it, it's not that bad. Anyhow. So my recommendation, that's just a demonstration of, what you want to be doing in combat. My recommendation is when you are first getting started in your DPS role, I would just turn numbers off, right? Like you can leave incoming damage and incoming healing on. I would just not even care to know how much damage you're putting out. And the reason being is you want to learn to do what you're doing, what you should be doing, and what you're trying to do. You want to learn that without the pressure of, am I putting out enough damage? Okay, because guess what? Like, putting out enough damage is, what's enough damage? There's not an answer to that. What is enough damage? How much damage is enough damage? Well, guess what? Nobody knows because there's not an answer to that. ZOS, the devs, they're very good at creating content for this game that will let you know real quick if you should be in the content or not. Okay? But irregardless of what level you are, you can do essentially whatever you want. Alright, I'm going to bring this back up for just a second. Okay. I have 1,390 champion points. That is... just ignore that. Okay? Because here's the thing. Ever since one Tamriel, the game scales to your character. Okay? So when in combat, just because you're in the dungeon with somebody who may be a considerably higher level than you, does not mean that they are doing considerably better than you, or that you're going to get killed by the stuff, because the enemies and the all that is going to scale to your character for your experience. Okay? Now, does that mean there is no hard content? No, it doesn't. But I'm going to see to demonstrate the secondary function that I was talking about, which is do the mechanics, because this is the part, this is the make or break thing. Okay, like people can hit stuff. Like I can take this, I can take my Magic Templar here and just smack face into everything that I see. But it's not going to help me if I am not doing what I should be doing. In addition to dealing damage, I should also be doing whatever mechanics the dungeon or wherever I'm at, the arena, the trial, any of that, all of it has built-in mechanics. If I'm not doing the mechanics, I'm likely to get me killed, or I'm likely to get maybe the whole group killed. Okay, so that is far more important than 50k DPS. Like nobody, I personally, as a tank, okay, one of my main characters, I have two mains, and that's, I know that sounds a little weird, but it's, you know, it is what it is. Like I've got two characters that I'm a little more attached to than the rest of them. One of my two main characters is primarily a tank, and it is a very good tank. So as the tank, I do not care how much damage you're putting out, because I'm not going to die. I'm going to do the best I can to keep y'all alive, or whoever's in the group. I say y'all, whoever's in the group with me alive. I'm fine if it takes a minute. I don't care, as long as I can see the players are actually trying to play, as opposed to they have gotten the notion that, like, burn through the dungeon, kill all the ads, kill the boss quick. You know what? This is what's going to happen. The mechanics are going to happen no matter how much damage you put out. Right? It just is. Because they're triggered at certain, like, boss mechanics are triggered at certain percentages of health. So, you know, if it's every 10% and you burn from 90 to 80 real fast, you're going to overlap 90% and 80% and get both rounds of mechanics at the same time and possibly get everyone killed. Okay, and that does not mean, as Spy would say, we're going to DPS real slow. That doesn't mean that. What that means is be aware of what is actually going on and do that. Like, play the content. Damage is convenient, but play the content. Okay? If you learn the content, you're so much better off than, like, I don't know, 70% of pickup groups that I've been in. Like, because Pug Life is a real thing, and sometimes you get in and you get some real toxic fuckers, and sometimes you get in and you get, you know, people who are just wanting to clear the content, and that is such a better group to be in. That second one that I mentioned is such a better group to be in. Okay, so I'm going to try and queue into a dungeon to see if I can demonstrate what it is exactly that I'm talking about. If I can't queue into a dungeon, then I'm going to have to come up with a way. I may just have to wait until I do get queued into a dungeon and then put that up and have a little talk about, all right, so that, you know, we'll come back to the subject and be like, all right, so this is what I was talking about in this video. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and try to queue in for a dungeon to see if I can get in. And like, DPS queue is terrible because everyone and their mother in this game wants to play DPS, which is fine, except for that leaves an extreme shortage of tanks and healers. So anyhow, hopefully we'll get into a dungeon, and if we do, I will see you in a minute. If too much time passes, I will see you in a minute anyway and let you know, because I don't want this video to go on forever, because I don't want you guys to have to sit here, you know, watching this video forever and listen to me talk. So anyhow, all right, I'm going to give this a few minutes and I'll be back shortly either way. All right, everybody. Queue lasted for a real long time, and I gave it a chance, and it just didn't come through. So I have traveled into the Banished Cells 2 because I know that some of the secondary functions of a DPS can be demonstrated in here. So we're just going to run through here real quick, and I will demonstrate some of what I'm talking about. Now, this is a normal dungeon, but let's see here. All right, so that, such things as that, I didn't get to it quick enough, but that could have been interrupted, okay? Even though DPS is considered a primary damage dealing role, which is fine, you do have other things to do. Didn't get to that one either. Alright, well, let's go find one. I'm just gonna let him beat up on me for a minute. Get through here real quick. Alright, so this guy right here. Interrupt. See? If nobody does that in certain content, now, absolutely not in this content, but in certain content, if nobody does that interrupt, it could potentially kill you. It could potentially be a big problem for your group, right? Now, to demonstrate, once you get so far along, you'll be fine, okay? It just is a thing. If you've built correctly, you'll be completely okay. As a DPS, you can farm some of the dungeons by yourself. It's not that big deal. But understanding the basics is very important. Because if you don't, you will not get to the point where you can do such a thing as kill a boss on your own, even in normal content. Okay? So, I really wish the queue had come through and I had gotten into a vet dungeon as opposed to a normal dungeon, because veteran dungeons are, in my opinion, they are you seeing the game as it was meant to be seen. A normal dungeon or a normal trial, a normal anything, is a preview and to help you get to know the content. So, run it. There's no shame in that. Run it. We all started there. Some people forget. Some people don't. Anybody who's reasonable is not going to forget that we all started playing normal content, because you cannot run into, actually some content is even locked until you can get to a high enough level where the game allows you to go into the content. So I believe that is it. The major takeaway that I would like for anyone watching this who is curious about playing a DPS build is, I want you to understand that damage is not king. Okay? Damage does not, how much damage you do does not make or break whether or not you can do the content. Damage is simply a convenience. Is it good that you can put out a lot of damage and you also know the mechanics so you can do that too? Yes. That comes with time. Okay? Time and experience and putting in the time to get good at the game. No pun intended. But all the garbage and trash out there that's, all the DPS sucks, if the DPS are doing their job, blah blah blah, or a gatekeeper, like someone recruiting for members, like in chat or something like that, and they say looking for DPS, proof of 80k DPS required. Ignore that shit. Okay? Don't join, don't even worry about it. Don't see it. When you see it, don't get mad. It doesn't matter if you can't do it. It doesn't mean that you can't do the content. It simply means they're looking for something specific, you may not meet that requirement. That's fine. So this has been damage dealing for beginners. If you like the video, please give it a like and a share. If you haven't already, and you take a look around the channel if you haven't already, and if you like what you see, and you haven't already, and now my words came out of my mouth, right? Subscribe to the channel. If you do subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the bell icon. That way you're turning on notifications to let you know when we put out a new video. If you have any questions about this one or any video that we put out, please leave us a comment. If you have any thoughts, please leave us a comment. We're on Twitter. You can reach out that way. Whatever way is easiest or makes the most sense to you, that's fine. We would love to speak with you. We would love to help you through whatever it is. That's the whole reason we do this. We enjoy playing the game, and we enjoy helping others advance in their gameplay. So that's it for the video. One more thing before I go, we do have a couple of ways that you can go about supporting the channel if you feel inclined to do so beyond just subscribing to the channel. We have Spy Pie Gaming t-shirts, which I will make sure I put a link to up in the top corner of the video and also in the description down below. The other way that you can donate or help support the channel is down below all of our videos. Directly below all of our videos, there is a button shaped like a heart that says thanks. You can click on that and donate directly to the channel. Either one is fine, or neither one is fine. Honestly, you're just watching the video and giving us your feedback and subscribe to the channel. Those things are all just as equally appreciated as if you bought a t-shirt or if you donated to the channel. We're here for you guys. We're not here to make a fortune. We're not none of that craziness. So anyhow, this has been Jack, and I will see you guys in the next one.